You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. Once again, we are here today, and just like any other time, we have another amazing show lined up for y'all. It's Friday. Happy Friday. Hope you're doing well. Appreciate you tuning in today. We have a true honor talking to our special guest, Isabel Chiara. She has an amazing website, isabel-chiara.com. And today we're going to be talking about not just her life journey and all the things that she's doing, but specifically the life actualization process. And she's going to help us understand what it means to have transformational power and change in our personal growth in our lives. She's going to help guide us through all the amazing stories that she has, because that's what this whole show is all about, is helping you, the audience and our viewers, to understand the blueprints that our special guests have been able to master over the years. So first and foremost, Chiara, I want to say thank you for being on the show. How you doing?
Oh my God, thank you for having me. I feel so honored to be here.
Well, you'd be surprised. Surprised. People still think I don't get nervous when I talk on my show. And I feel like if you're not nervous, you're not living. You gotta always be on your game. But the thing is, it's a privilege that I get to be on this platform with you and hosting you today, because it's been a journey. And speaking of that, I want you to start out first, telling the audience a little bit about you and how did you come to writing all these amazing books?
So let me just start with the concept of which I've been going with lately that I think has really helped me on my journey, is the whole concept of nourishment. And I did write a few books, and I'm about to come out with another book called Nourish. And what's happening right now is I created this app, and it's called Nourish. And that is kind of a guideline of my entire journey, because at an early age, I grew up in basically a hardworking Italian family that were immigrants that were actually in World War II. And we had, a level of communication that wasn't totally conscious, I would say. I think that's a nice way to put it, for a sensitive child in the world. And I, at an early age, was not able to really express myself. So instead of expressing myself, I was pushing down a lot of feelings, and a lot of my I just didn't allow myself to. I learned how to not allow myself to have feelings, because there was such a reaction at the other end. Because basically, how can they survive in that kind of a life or that kind of a world, being sensitive? They had to toughen up. They had to get a tough skin. And by the way, I just want to say, whatever we came from, if we say it's trauma, if we say it's our upbringing, we said it was rough, it is a gift. Our journey of what we have in our life and what we've experienced in our life is a gift, and it wouldn't allow me to be who I am today. And who I am today is a woman who has explored at an early age every aspect of their life, and as I covered my feelings up for so many years, left my body, escaped my body. It allowed me to find another level of spirituality in my life that brought me on a course of studying a lot of, and this was in the 80s, a lot of healing modalities, Reiki, Theta, visualization process that started, a while ago, past life regression, shamanism, astrology. So I have studied everything, and every modality allowed me to have a very wonderful insight to myself. And as you start to have insights to yourself, you are able to see them in others also. And I feel like that became my calling at an early age. And of course, once we begin to figure out what we're doing in life, we want to share it with everybody. And so I wanted to share it by writing down, put pen to paper, and start exploring my own feelings that I had kept hiding for so long in my life. And I realized the only way for me to get inside of myself is to have a way, almost like this is where I began to discover this actualization process, to go within myself and to bring out in the form of what I now call my Nourish app, these active meditation activations. Go in and discover where it was that certain behaviors of mine started and certain behaviors can transform. But it was only because the real purpose of the app, the Nourish app, is to really release and explore and transform outworn behaviors, because we all have them, and it's how we live our life. And once we see, or once we know where they came from, we are able to transform, not by, saying, okay, I'm going to transform this habit. Just by noticing and being conscious of where something came from, we're able to bring it forward and move through it, or definitely have some kind of consciousness around it that allows us to begin to shift. And once we're on that path, which is a journey, and I call it the nourishment journey. Yeah. Once we're on that path, we are always in the safest, best place we possibly can be. And we no longer have to look at ourselves as, I'm still here. Nourish almost becomes a mantra in our life. And we're on a path, because that's what it is. It's a path of our journey. And that becomes a path that we are able to be and explore and appreciate and notice shifts quicker than really trying to will ourselves or take away from us, or punish ourselves in some way, so as not to be able to really shift any patterns.
And for the app, I have a little, if I can put it up real fast, for those who are watching us on YouTube, how can they get access to downloading this app, and what are some of the benefits, features that you have that people can appreciate?
Oh, I'm glad you're asking that question. So they can go under, unfortunately, it's only under iOS. It's under Apple. And it can, they just have to go under Nourish app, and they could pull it up. But I did, for your listeners, we have a 1 month free offering for the app, and it also can be found on my my website. It's called Isabel-Chiara.com, Isabel-Chiara.com, and they can have access to the app there. So just to go over a few of the things, there are really a lot of basic things that a lot of us struggle with. For instance, one is sabotaging the self. That's the name of that particular activation. And through this particular activation, and it guides us through all of the whole entire process. And we have a sense of how we are self-soothing ourselves. And these become tools, these activations. And we're bringing these self-sabotaging parts of ourselves to consciousness. And we bring all these parts forward. But what I like about my app, which I think is different than others, is it allows us to have the child at an earlier age have a sense of what it needs. And I bring in also an inner guardian that is able to just listen to the child, just be there with the child. And what ends up happening is on so many levels, unconscious, conscious, it ends up expanding the way we look at any particular behavior and the way we look at ourselves. And it begins to expand all these outworn patterns in our life. So it's a way of enhancing that part of our life, as a child. And it ends up shifting all the behaviors or all the events that follow that afterwards. It ends up allowing that part of us to expand itself and become more conscious. And one day, after listening to some of these activations, people begin to notice that they are shifting without struggle. And I also believe that sometimes the work that other people do in the world, for instance, the work you're doing in the world, allows other people that are listening to us or have found us to move a lot of their life and shift it quicker. Do you find that?
I want to comment on that, actually, because here's the thing. I learned so much just being in this place right now when I have guests like you on, because it's my turn to be the student, right? So I'm in the position to learn, to absorb what you're saying as the guest on the show. And because of that, it's like every show just keeps getting better. Why? Because everyone's story is unique. Everyone's pain points are different. But I say the strategy of the common thread is pretty consistent. I wouldn't say the same because everyone's situation is different, but I would say it's consistent. And that is when a person finds the opportunity to make something better, it involves a decision to be made. And the decision is, am I going to move forward with this understanding that I must do X, Y, Z to make it better? Then you make that decision. Or you stay the same.
Right.
So there's a common thread with everyone that if you refuse to be the same person you are from back then, that allows you to escape the rat race and pursue what you're trying to pursue with more clarity. And last thing I'll say is a common word that's been going on since like late last year is having the ability to be self-aware of what's happening with you. Because you just throw paint at the wall. You know, if you like abstract art, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you are trying to actually move a certain direction, then you have to be very conscious of what it is you're going to have to do, and for that to have a chance.
Right. Exactly. So I like to use the word nourish, as you're using your word also, as that I said it was like kind of like a mantra, you know, that we own what we do. We own the decisions we make, right? And we own that, how we feel about the decisions we make. And I suspect that if somebody's listening to you, they're already in the process of shifting. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. And I think that's a great point to make, because just like the app that we just showed, people can give it time, because sometimes we feel like microwave success is the answer to our issues. Someone said it very well not too long ago, and that is, when you are used to going the wrong way of things and you've been doing it for years, you can't expect to have a solution that fixes it in 24 hours. But that change or shift can start to unravel layers of bad decisions or just bad habits. And you start to unpack and see the true potential you have. You won't ever find it, though, if you don't start.
Right. But what if we looked at life as everything we were doing as a build upon instead of a take away from ourselves? So whatever we do, we get to acknowledge what that event or the thing we're doing as a enhancement of our body, mind, soul, and spirit. Because we really don't know if that was, we could say this is good, this is bad, but it's not true, right? Necessarily. It could be, a really good event or a good decision that's bringing us to a whole nother point in our life. And so we are on this journey, and the journey becomes this path of self-trust, self-nourishment. When what we feed ourselves, we're feeding ourselves things that, it's not just, vitamins, nutrients, or food. It's really feeding ourselves the words that we speak to ourselves, the acknowledgement we give to ourselves. That's why, for me, nourishment is in a very encompassing kind of way. It's a way to be in the world. And so that's why I provided the app for people to begin to, get underneath it and see how it's brought them to a certain point. And what happens is, unconsciously, by just listening to it, even if it's in the background or, listen to it a couple of times a week, because there's over 12 processes, they begin to shift their consciousness. It happens very eloquently. It's not forced. It just begins to shift, and life feels different. And I'll just say, be different in the world. And we own ourselves in the world, instead of hiding in the world, instead of not participating, we begin to own we are in the world, and we are making a difference. I feel like that's kind of the essence of what a lot of people have experienced too, once they start on this pathway.
Once again, you listen on Refocused Radio and watching us online. Talking to our guest today, Isabel Chiara. Go to her website, isabel-chiara.com. And we're talking about not just the app, but also about the process that she developed, that she made. We're going to get into that in a minute. The Life Actualization Process. For our audience and our viewers, kind of explain how you were able to fine-tune this process, because a lot of people have energy blockers, and I'm sure you have a lot of experience to overcome those.
Mm-hmm. So that's, the app actually goes for a lot of very specific underlying blocks. So as I could generalize it, whatever the thing is will show up in it. One of the best things, not the best, but one of the things that a lot of people have are the not good enough feeling. Or they're not enough. And so if we're constantly with that word, those words in the back, I'm not enough, and there's that belief about ourselves, then we're always trying to find something new, find something different, compete, instead of coming back within ourselves and allowing ourselves to feel whatever we receive. First of all, even allowing ourselves to receive. If we could be receiving something and we're telling ourselves, I'm not enough, at some point, if this wording shifts, or this block shifts, or this energetic component of our life shifts, we would be able to receive and expand so much more of ourselves in life and participate in the world and actually be part of the entire world on a whole nother level. And we would be inserting ourselves and stay connected to people around us, the world around us, and see everything around us and be connected to ourselves. That's really the most important thing. So as all of these activations that I have are very fundamental, they're the basic underlying foundation of how we begin to accept and love and nurture all of ourselves. An actualization process is just an act of figuring out what is exactly that's triggering us, that needs to move through us, and finding what that is, and then using a lot of these activations in order to shift them. So it's actually probably, it sounds very basic, but it's very deep. It's very deep work, and the work's already been done by so many people. So for someone who would just be beginning, if they started this and tried this and really listened to this, a lot of things would shift in their life, including relationships and relationships with themselves, relationships with their family. I really think this is a real healing app.
And also, people, they struggle with what you're saying too, is their belief system. What are some of the ways that you help your clients to understand that how they are limited and what they believe is possible? What some ways have you discovered that they're able to pass by that? Because that's another part of the game as well. If you can't believe in you, then you can't expect anybody else to even try either.
Right. Yeah. Just uncovering a lot of these things are what allows people to expand in their life. If you begin to trust yourself and trust your decision-making process and own what happens in your life, things move quickly. I always say, I don't really know, I don't know why this happened, so we look at things, I can't believe this happened, oh my God. But the truth is, we don't know why something happened in our life. And we get to choose how we look at that too. That could be the best thing that ever happened, even though it didn't follow the path we were really on. We got redirected, or we got, our life became pivoted in some way. And that could have been the best thing that happened to us. So if we own it, if we own things that are as, wow, let's just look at this. Let's just have this play out. Let's let this open up. Things begin to look different in our life, and we don't get stuck in the energy of the emotion on that, because we're open to something else occurring in this space of event that just occurred to us in our life.
A word I like that you used was pivot, because if we can learn how what it takes to pivot, then that can unlock new doors for us to be ready for. Mm-hmm. I'm a big fan. I have mentors and stuff. I'm a big fan of when people talk about sometimes it doesn't happen because you're not ready yet. Mm-hmm. You got things that you need to work on and adjust and maybe pivot. And for our listeners and viewers, kind of explain even further, what does it really take for a person to say, okay, I understand I do need to make an adjustment, but it's a lot easier said than done. It's going to take a lot of commitment and you actually doing the hard work.
Right. I think the concepts are laid out for us on some level. And you're right. What does it take for us to say, oh, okay, this is happening and it's a pivot. It's not what I was going for. But what if it is what you're going for, but there was just another direction? I just always say it's another path. But if you start to tell yourself stories like that, okay, it's just another path. It's just another way to get there. I start to play with that a lot. And I said, I think along the way, and I bring in other things that I'm trying to create in my life. Like, I was like, oh, maybe I'll meet a bunch of really interesting people along the way this time. Or maybe I'll meet this person that's really important for this aspect of my business or this aspect of my life. Or maybe I'll find a couple of really good friends. I say that along the way. And I always say, who knows why I'm here? We end up in different places that we don't even know how we got there. How many situations, that we've seen. And you just could look at yourself and chuckle at that point, because it was never in your realm of creation or the realm of what you were going to see for yourself. But we can only see like a certain amount. We can only see as much as we can clear. So that's why I am offering actually this app, because the more we clear, the more we open up, the more we see, the more we receive. We get to receive also. We bring into our life.
Yeah.
And we even get to say, okay, you know what? This is part of the joy, if we're trying to create joy. I mean, I like to use words that I'm trying to bring into my life. Joy is one of the feelings I would love to feel all the time. Or I always say, it's part of the joy. I don't know how it's going to look, but it's part of the joy that I'm creating.
I have someone told me before, you have to make the deposits before you can take the withdrawal. So if you're low on joy, then maybe you have to deposit a little bit more joy. If I'm being serious, I'm a serious person. People ask me all the time, man, why you don't smile? I say, you should look at my show, because I smile all the time. But the truth is, if you are lacking something, it could probably be saying a lot about you. So if I am too serious, then maybe it's because I need to take more time to try to make those moments where I'm not so serious. And that's something that's going to take time for you to develop. You're not going to just flip like a switch and then next week everyone in the office is like, oh my God, he's a whole different person. No, it probably take a little bit more commitment and time. But if you don't make the necessary changes, it's like life just gets harder and harder and harder. And I want to get to this point before we sign off. It get to the point where you just become a victim and you blame everybody on the external, versus like I had a guest that said you got to work on the inner man, because until he gets strong, he will never meet the opportunity.
Totally agree. It's all about the inner work. It's all about the inner work and inner vision, how you're seeing your life from the inside out. It's never about what's happening on the outside is just a reflection, but it's really the inside. And you know what? When you first got on this with me, I thought you were really serious too. But I see this whole other side of you that looks so different.
Yeah.
Beautiful. You're smiling. To me, you're smiling. You may not have a big grin, but you are smiling. I could see you're smiling from the inside out.
I am a serious person, but I tell people it's like introverts, man. We smile when we smile. But the thing is, being on this whole journey with the youth, we had to graduate from just being the world of the theory of the mind with radio. And I had to transition into the visual world. And just like anybody else, I was an amateur. I was telling you in the green room, I was an amateur on this YouTube game because I knew a little bit about lighting, but knowing a little bit about lighting versus actually having it right and perfect for yourself in the beginning is going to be laughable. But that's everyone's journey. Everyone is an amateur in whatever they do. If it's a sport, if it's music, if it's whatever, XYZ. But it's about the ability to make progress. Because if you fail to grow, then it's like you stop and you quit. Because if you don't, so it's like if you don't work on the inner man, then you're blaming everybody on the external.
Right.
And it just makes you look bad because people look at you and say, wow, he's not improving. It's like he quit and he doesn't care. And when you get to the new level, I always say there's a new devil waiting for you.
Right.
And you just got to double down on the basics that got you to where you are at this point in life. So it's more about, okay, more pressure, more opportunity. That's the mindset. But if you fail under pressure, it could be that you just need to step back and work on the small details and create that foundation that gets you to the next level. It's never going to be a stop of storms or just surprises, but it will keep you to who you truly are. A person that's going to go back to the basics and get yourself stronger, or you're the person that's going to be scattered and just blame everybody, be the victim, and you never find your true potential. You have to go to the other side of the fence, and that's on yourself. Because the more you work on yourself, last time I said, I'm going to throw it to you. And a person said, it's not that the performance was great. It was that behind the scenes, the studying, the practicing, the creating systems, that was great. And when it was time to be on stage and perform, it was like a masterpiece.
Right.
That's the difference.
Right. I like the way you phrase that. That's good. It's a beautiful metaphor.
Well, I can't believe it's always so fast when time is running, but you've been listening to Refocused Radio, watching us online, talking to our guest, Isabel Chiara. Go to her website, isabel-chiara.com. Make sure you get her app. I will have information in the description of the show notes. But like always, for you, if there's anything you want to talk about, events or updates, what's the last thing you want to share with our audience?
That we're all on this major, unbelievable, magical journey. And the more we look at ourselves and the more we look at ourselves from the inside out and feel nourished in our life and own ourselves and trust ourselves and love ourselves, the more we become full and a real being of beauty in the world. And we feel that inside of ourselves.
Well, as always, I want to say to you, Isabel, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on your show.